Alright guys, welcome back to Survival Living here. So, latest video we're talking about putting food and supplies back. Things are going to be getting really rough. I mean, right now, President-elect is already saying that they're going to go ahead and do these tariffs on imports coming in from Mexico, China, and Canada. I believe 25% on everything coming in from Canada, Mexico, and 10% on China. So prices are going to go up. I know there's a lot of people out there that are all ticked off over this. I think this is a great move in the long run if it stays continuous through the next 4 years and following a decade later. What it's going to do, guys, is get industry back here in this country, manufacturing. Unfortunately, it's going to get pricey. It's going to get pricey for you and me. This is why we prep. One of the things I saw in the last video comment section, guys, is that, excuse me, when I mentioned bugging out, I actually had a very special person leave a comment, and special as in short bus. If people that's been on this channel for a while has been listening to what I've been saying, what I've been showing, is that we're not rich. Odds are neither are you. That's why we work all the time. I mean, I'm working 6 days a week now on my main job, working turning wrenches on my off day here at the house, and right here on YouTube. Yeah, man of no sleep. But I know what's coming, so I keep pushing and pushing. I'm not saying you have to do the hours and stuff I'm doing. No, not at all. But you do need to be working as vigilant as possible to get supplies put back. But in that video, talking about bugging out, individual was talking about how must be nice to have a cabin in the woods and this and that. Like, you know, it's not as easy as you make it sound for normal people. Well, I don't know how much normal I can be. Maybe I'm not normal. I'll tell you what, I'm not rich. I bust my ass to get prepared. When I'm discussing bugging out, guys, and yes, you need to have a bug out plan for many different scenarios. Before you turn off this video, please hear me out. And hopefully you're listening to me before you start typing. I'm not saying go run and live in the woods. Not at all. Let's pop up this map here. All right, now all the way down the bottom there, I got the state of Florida. Let's say I have family or friends or a member of my community that has a farm, great location in Georgia. All right. When shit hits the fan, let's say hypothetically that the plan is to get there if things get bad in my neck of the woods. Whether some military base got nailed within way too close to my vicinity, and it is nuclear or some type of biologic or whatever is going on, and it is unsafe to be in my situation, bugging out. In this scenario, let's say we're going to Georgia. How do you get there? Well, for one, if everything's all hunky-dory, sure, you can drive your car. Well, if there's no gas pumps available, hopefully you got a full tank of gas and have gas on hand. Bugging out. Let's say that the roads are shut down. Now what? The major interstates. Then you hit secondary highways, roads, trying to get to that location. Well, let's just say that all these roads are shut down. Now what? You're in a dangerous situation in the state of Florida, and you have to get to Georgia. This is what we talk about bugging out and going through the woods. And this is why I push so much on training through the woods. You have to know what you're doing because you can seriously get injured or wind up dead. This is why we teach outdoor survival here on this channel. We've done it many videos on it. I put myself in some very bad situations to prove and show and teach what you can do. But you have to be out there training. You can't just be sitting there typing away and watching videos. There is a huge disconnect on watching videos on YouTube on survival, especially outdoor survival, and not just YouTube, Discovery Channel and all these other big survival shows. And hey, I'm a fan of a lot of them. But I know when I'm watching it, I know film work when I see it. It is brutal when you're actually having to do it. And all you have is very minuscule supplies. Most of the time, no food, no water. All you have is basic gear. That's where skills and knowledge comes in. Just knowing how to do things isn't good enough. You need to know how to use these hands and the tools that you have to create. And the only way to do that is by practicing and training. All right, so when it comes to bugging out, you need to have a plan to get from point A to point B or C, D, whatever it is that your plans are. I don't discuss exactly how we do our bug out plans because, one, I'm responsible for a larger group of people. Two, I'm not discussing where we're moving or where we have supplies dropped. This is what we've always talked about, moving from point A to point B in a bug out location. You can only carry so much gear. So utilizing your time now, going to these other spots, you're going out into the woods and you are planting caches. You're putting things off the beaten path so that you know when you go through there in an emergency, you have caches stationed everywhere. Hunters do this all the time. All right, I've found hunters' caches before. The reason being is because I'm really good at tracking, and when I come across human tracks out in the middle of the woods, I'm curious as to where they're going because they shouldn't be there because I'm not on the trail. So I usually find hunters' caches all the time. Don't worry, guys, if you're a hunter in the state of Florida, I do not mess with your stuff. I just tracked you. Sorry. But I don't mess with your stuff. Having caches hidden, all right, and make sure it's hidden good. And that's another thing, tracking. Know how to track. Know how to walk through the woods without leaving a huge freaking billboard sign. Hey, we all went this way. That's why the caches are important. Minimum gear is one of the things that we try to train to teach people on is using minimum gear. When I go out in the bush, I carry quite a bit of stuff because usually I'm taking all the filming equipment and all that, battery banks. Sometimes I'll take a solar generator if I'm going out there for a very long time and I know I have to charge up all the equipment. All right, it sits in, I have a tent that I take with me. All that equipment goes in there. Now, I filmed it many times. I actually had someone say, oh, I caught you with a tent. I've always been transparent on my stuff. I live in the shelters I make. Tent protects my equipment because my equipment is not cheap. To ruin it for a freaking video that gets 1,000 views. No, thank you. So having equipment, training with that equipment is very important as well. Having a small tent, it's great. It's great for morale. You sleep better in a tent than a tarp or a debris shelter. Me, either way is fine by me. I'm just used to it, but I do know having creepy crawly things crawl all over you while you're sleeping will wake you up. Unless you're dead tired, trust me, I've had centipedes run over me, and I've had snakes in my shelters before. You know, they weren't there earlier, but they slipped in at night. It happens, all right? So a tent's nice to have, but you need to have a plan to go from point A to point B, and don't just leave it as a plan. Get out there and train it. Walk it out, map it out. If you can't get an actual topographical map of your area, and there's plenty of USGS website stuff that you can find all kind of things, but all you have to do is go on your phone, all right, or your computer. Probably your computer is best. Pull up Google Maps. They have a satellite imagery filter, and you can print those things off. All right, you can print off your neighborhoods. You can print all this stuff out, laminate it, and you've got actual mapping areas. You can put your own coordinates on it, whatever it is that you need to do. Now you have maps of the vicinity that you're traveling through, and go travel it. Just looking at a map is not going to tell you everything you need to know about an area. I know how to read a map. I teach land navigation. I can look at elevation, I can look at creeks, I can look at all this stuff on the map. But when I go and hit the dirt, and even though it looked like some marshland was in the area, it turns out it's a complete freaking swamp that is 20 foot deep. That sucks. And you're going through that, swimming across, worrying about alligators and snakes and whatever else is in there. Probably Jaws. I'm terrified of sharks. Down here in Florida, if there's water, Jaws is there. So I want you guys to not block out the whole thing of bugging out. It's not just running to the woods and, well, if you just do that, odds are you're dead. One of the greatest threats, however, in my bug out plan is that I know a lot of people are going to run to the woods. Man is the greatest threat, in my opinion. Fortunately, most people are so disconnected now in society, you can hear them a ways off. You can smell them a ways off. What they're doing, cooking, whatever it is they're doing out there, you can hear it. It just amplifies out there. So you can avoid, or if the situation requires it, meet with force. Choice is yours on that. Anyway, guys, one last comment, should be right up there for you. Something about stocking up all that food is not going to protect you for God's judgment days or whatever. I'm not preparing for the rapture. My heart and soul's good, okay? If that comes, hey, I do my best. If I miss it, well, that's going to suck. This stuff here is not going to matter during that situation. But World War III is not Armageddon on earth as far as the apocalypse biblical wise. How can I say that? Well, one, according to the Bible, no man knows the time. All right, so there's that. I might be a little off on the quote. I'm trying to shoot off the hip. But they claim that during the plague, during the medieval times. That was it. The end times were here. World War I, the end times are here. World War II, the end time is here. The blood moon is rising and the end time is here. Yada, yada, yada. Yada, yada, yada. New election. The end time is here. Oh my goodness, I cannot believe how many times I have read comments about a president taking office and that they are the Antichrist. Maybe I should have joined TikTok. At least I knew what type of comments I'd be receiving. I don't know. For all these sane people out there, I know we're preppers. And that's a joke, okay? I hear it all the time. You're a prepper, you're really not sane because you're preparing for everything. I try to prepare for as much as possible because I've been in bad situations. Not have help. Sorry, we had a gremlin. Just be ready, guys. All right? What you can rely on is, one, your faith in God. Two, doing the hard work and getting ready. When things go down, will I be able to take all of this stuff with me? Absolutely not. I'm going to stay in position as long as possible. I have other locations that we have a lot of stash spots. We have our bug out locations. We have multiple scenarios. And this isn't something that just happened overnight. This is years in the making, years in networking, working with people. You can work with family in a different state, in a different town. Let's say that you got massive civil unrest in your town. They're locking that sucker down. I mean, it is getting bad there. Where are you going to go? Roads are down. You can't leave. You're walking out. Do you have a bug out plan even 20 miles down the road to get out of a major city? Do you have the supplies to make it? 20 miles doesn't sound like much, but a mass exodus and violence and stuff, guys, 20 miles can be hell. All right? Just be ready. All right, guys. Speak to y'all later.